You're going to learn how to find calm and connect amidst stress and isolation with simple, actionable ways to find calm and connect, like I said, amidst this stress and isolation that we might find ourselves in. And plus, because I identify as a biohacker, I'll get into that a little bit later. I'm going to give a few what I call secret biohacks. So I'll throw a few of those in there. Before I dive in, I'm curious, I think our attendees have access to the chat room. So I'm curious to hear from our attendees. And just if you can write in the chat, where are you? Where in the world you are? And how you're feeling. And so as you do that, I'll let you know, like Shannon said, I'm in Thailand. I'm in a place called Chiang Mai, Thailand, on the other side of the world. So it's now 8 o'clock in the morning. I believe it's 7 p.m. Mountain Time for you guys in that region. And I'm feeling, I'm feeling a little stressed, but excited. I'm excited to share this stuff. And yeah, I'm excited to help people out. So yeah, that's where we're at now. So let me see if I can get over to a chat window here and bring that up. Cool, Rick is an evergreen, feeling normal, okay. Hopefully that's good. So Rick, thank you for sharing. Yeah, so let's dive right in. We've got a lot to cover. So just a general agenda. We'll go through an intro. I'll talk about who I am. We'll get into the problems of stress and loneliness, and then we'll dive into the solutions for calm and connect. And then we'll do some activities. And this is going to be a bit of I call it choose your own adventure in a sense, where it's a collective choose your own adventure so that you guys get to choose which activities you want to work on during this, let's call it a workshop at this point. So yeah, I'm going to lay out a lot of different things. I encourage you to take notes and take note of the things that are especially interesting to you, and then even practice them even during the talk or after the talk. So Kevin's in Austin, Texas. Every day is different. Some days are stressful. Other days are productive and easy. Yes. There's been a lot of that. For me, I thought I'm like, okay, I'm a wellness practitioner. I'm pretty centered, pretty calm, pretty focused, and I feel like I can help others. And I'm pretty centered. And I realized for about 2 weeks I was derailed, just like reading and consuming all this stuff about coronavirus, to the point where I ended up giving 3 presentations on the topic. So I was like, wow, okay, I kind of went off the rails there, but maybe not in a bad way. Yeah, so about me, again, I'm Jason Ryer, a biohacker, a teacher, and a coach. I research and self-experiment to find the easiest yet most effective ways to optimize my health. I also lead the Biohackers Collective here in Chiang Mai, where we get together every week now, almost for 50 meetings. We'll be coming up on a year of meeting in June. But talking about all things health and wellness, which is really cool to get to connect to people live and in person. So in light of the coronavirus, we've shifted that online and things have kind of fallen off, but I think we'll get back on track. I'm also a teacher. So the course I teach is called the Master Faster Detox Challenge. And it's the simplest way for people to detox, boost productivity, and get control over their weight. I'm also a coach, a superhuman potential coach. I'm actually certified as a bulletproof and a human potential coach. So I help people go from tired, fat, and distracted to energetic, strong, and focused. And my mission, my overall mission that you see there on the slide, is reuniting people with nature for better health. So that's a bigger mission for me. I have a bit of space here in Chiang Mai. I have a house with a little bit of a yard, a big yard, I guess. And so my idea is to start doing some permaculture practices and bring a blend of kind of like the biohacking, optimizing health and wellness with nature, because I think those will go together really well. So for me, my background, I've been what I call a student of health and wellness for over 5 years. And I've been obsessed since then with finding ways to reach my own superhuman potential. With biohacks, researching, experimenting on myself, and finding the easiest and most effective practices. So now I want to share those with you. So quick disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, this is not medical advice. I'm sharing my experiences and opinions based on my research so that you can learn more about health, wellness, and more specifically, being more resilient. What's your problem? So perhaps in these times of social isolation, you're stressed and anxious, or isolated and lonely. Certainly, without a doubt, times have changed, and this has impacted almost all of us in some shape or form. So how can we deal with this? Before we get to solutions, let's look at the problem. So what's the problem with stress? One question that came to mind is, can stress kill you? So emotionally, many feel overwhelmed, wound up, strokes, even suicidal thoughts. And one example that came up in my research was with unemployment. So, hopefully none of us are in a serious bad place in this category, but it's estimated if the unemployment rate increased by 10-fold, which it actually already has in many states in the United States. Across the US, 1.8 million lives would be lost to deaths of despair and from government orders to lock down, shut down, and shelter in place, right? So in short, yes, stress can kill you. Though it's not the stressful situations that kill you. It's how you deal with the stress that affects your health. So that's something we'll get into a little later. But when we encounter a stressful situation, our body produces hormones that send us into what's called fight or flight mode. The brain's neurotransmitters and hormones, which form part of our typical stress response, can kind of become distorted. And this causes a surge in the hormone adrenaline, which gets our heart pumping, raises our blood pressure, and it also increases cortisol. That gets released, and it slows our body's normal, non-essential functions, like the immune and digestive systems. So it's actually lowering our immunity. And like I said, it can raise high blood pressure, that can lead to stroke. Stress also triggers unhealthy habits, I think, as all of us are well aware. And this can lead to a downward spiral of health. So yeah, it's not a great situation. And just to shed some light on it, the fight or flight response can actually be helpful. So it gives us that sudden release of adrenaline, and we get that boost we need to go through a stressful presentation, or back in the day to run away from a tiger or a lion or something like that. So the problem becomes when this is excessive, the stress is excessive over time, it develops into what is termed as chronic stress. So what's the problem with being lonely and loneliness? So social isolation and chronic loneliness place individuals at much greater risk for a lot of diseases, as well as early death. So one stat that's interesting, in 2019 in the United States, 28% of households were just single person households, up from 23% in 1980. And I think Stockholm is an extreme example of that, because in 2012, 8 years ago, 60% of the households were single person households. So in a study, nearly half of the people reported feeling lonely. This leads to depression, poor sleep quality, impaired executive function, accelerated cognitive decline, poor cardiovascular function, and impaired immunity. The health consequences of prolonged loneliness are equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Social isolation increases the risk of premature death from every cause for everyone. The risk is similar to obesity, smoking, lack of access to care, and lack of physical activity. So those are the problems, but what is loneliness? I didn't even tell you what it is. So this is interesting, because loneliness, it's actually defined by a person's perceived level of social isolation. So it's not synonymous with chosen solitude. So essentially, loneliness is a feeling, and it's not necessarily a fact. So one question that comes to my mind when I read that was, well, if it's a feeling, how do I change my feelings? I change my feelings by changing my thoughts. We'll get into that later. That means that just because you're isolated, it doesn't mean that you're lonely. For example, many people live by themselves, like I shared with you, but a lot of them still have social lives, right? Before coronavirus, they'd go out and meet up with friends. They probably still reach out to people on, internet, phone, whatever. So they can still not feel lonely, even if they're isolated. But then the flip of that is true. Vice versa is true. So you can be surrounded by other people and feel lonely. So the example for that, which isn't the best example in light of the coronavirus, is on a crowded subway, right? Because that's not really happening right now, I don't think. Maybe in Sweden or Iceland, where they haven't put all these measures in place. But yeah, you can imagine you're on a subway and you're surrounded by people, but you can still feel lonely, certainly, because there's no connection. There's no social interaction. So I want to distinguish two types of loneliness. Number one is reactive, two is chronic. So reactive is also what I would call like acute loneliness, which is like the loss of a loved one. And chronic is feeling lonely on a regular basis, like every day. So now we understand the problems. What are the solutions? How can you stop feeling stressed and lonely and instead calm and connect? So I'll give you a lot of different strategies and tactics to deal with stress and loneliness. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. I encourage you to take notes, like I said earlier, especially if any of these that resonate with you. But first, perhaps you can reflect on some things that you're doing that aren't serving you well. And for me, in my situation, it's things like getting distracted and lost on Facebook, especially in light of the coronavirus. Like I'll go into Facebook. I didn't used to do this so much, but more and more. Like I'll go into Facebook because it's part of my work. Like, oh, I need to send this person a message, for example. But then I see that notifications, click on it, and literally like 5 to 10 minutes have gone by, and I'm like, oh, what was I gonna do? I'm like, oh yeah, I actually had some intention when I came into Facebook. So for me, that's a big distraction. And then all the news around coronavirus. I've been reading a lot about it. And I think reading to inform myself and then to pass that on and to teach others has been really useful. But I've been reading a lot of opinions, a lot of feelings. I'll post something that's controversial and people will react with feelings, right? Which is not always very productive. And then for me, spending excessive time in front of a screen on my computer, like I'm doing now. And I think we're all probably doing more of that with the situation where we're not getting out as much. And then for me, sleeping in the morning, I found myself like, okay, I can snooze a little longer. I'll catch up on all these things that I have to do today. So thankfully, we have this presentation this morning. I wasn't allowed to sleep in at all. For me, I got up at 6 a.m. here. So I want you to think of things that you can change, perhaps that you should change in your life. And if you had a routine before, if there are ways to kind of stick to that routine, like with exercise, for example. I know a lot of people are like, well, I can't go to the gym anymore, so it's hard to work out. But if at least you can stick to the same time and do a workout at home, that can help with that routine a little bit. And I'll get into that later. So this is one thing that kind of bugs me about stress, is like stress is usually considered a bad thing, right? I mean, in some cases, it's actually beneficial, like exercise is a stress, right? I practice fasting. That's a stress that actually makes me stronger, same as exercise. So the common advice is manage your stress. Don't stress. But what does that really mean? So how do we turn that around? So perhaps instead we can say calm, right? So practice calm. And connect. So we'll start with our first solution of connecting. So I think a lot of these are obvious, but I want to give some context around them, and hopefully you'll get something out of this. So kind of just ask yourself, what can you do? What have you been doing? What can you change? What can you do better about all these things? So for connecting, being connected to others socially is widely considered a fundamental human need. It's crucial to both well-being and survival. So the power of touch, touching another human being or even your pet, releases oxytocin, which is a natural cuddle hormone. So this is something that I like to talk about because it's a good way of actually making us feel better in a very real way. So this happens during like mother-infant bonding, hugging, and that sort of thing. So what else can you do to connect? Confide in loved ones. So this might make your newfound isolation feel more manageable. If you can connect, talk, and confide with others. And then maintain a strong support network. So this can help you identify solutions and change your perspective. So I congratulate you all for joining this talk, because although this is a bit of a monologue right now, I think we're still able to connect a little bit, and we'll have a chance to connect and share more when we get to the workshop portion. So yeah, like the slide says, you can call a friend. If you're with a loved one, you can get close and connect. But what if you're not? What if you're one of those people who's alone? You may want to look at going online, right? Or picking up the phone where you can connect with others. Or perhaps you can take an online group course, like my Master Faster Detox Challenge. I'll keep reminding you guys of that one in case you're interested. Sun. What about the sun? So this is something that's come up a lot from a health perspective, both physically and psychologically. I think it's very important. So sun, the way the sun works for us, just a very basic understanding is that it releases serotonin in our body. This actually makes us feel good. And then we also produce melatonin, and that helps us sleep at night. And we also produce what else? Vitamin D, right? I think a lot of people know that. We get vitamin D from not the UVA rays, but the UVB rays from the middle of the day. So for, I think, everybody on here who's on the other side of the world, you have a smaller window to get those UVB rays, right? So midday sun, this is something I do. I try to make it a point to go outside, middle of the day, and get direct sunlight on my skin. And why do I do that? Like I said, serotonin makes me happy, melatonin helps me sleep, vitamin D has all kinds of benefits, and then to keep going, strong bones, prevents cancer, heals skin, and boosts immunity based on my research, right? So the sun is very important. The challenge here for me is that we're reaching 100 degrees temperature Fahrenheit pretty much every day. So my sun has become a bit of a sauna as well, which is, additional detox benefits, but not as welcome at this point. Nature. So what about nature? How does nature solve this problem of stress and isolation and loneliness? So it's interesting because a person here locally gave a couple of talks, and he somehow used nature as a verb. And I keep coming back to that. Like, can we go nature, or let's go nature? I don't know. Anyway, studies on nature point in just one direction about nature. It's not just nice to have, but it's a have to have. It's a must for physical health and cognitive function. It's our antidote to stress. It lowers blood pressure, lowers stress hormones, reduces nervous system arousal, reduces anxiety, and improves our mood. So getting outside, I highly recommend, especially in these times of social isolation. Breathe. So now we're on to what I would call my secret biohacks with breathing and breath work. So I can go on for a long time with the breath work. So I'm going to get hung up here for a little bit because there's a bit to explain, because it's super interesting to me what we can do when we control and harness the power of our own breath. We can do it in three ways. So I'll break this down into three things. One is using breath to simply calm, right? Which is very important. Two is what I call buteyko breathing. So this is a Russian doctor and scientist who came up with a method for breathing. And three is Wim Hof, breathing. And Wim Hof, I think some of you guys know about, is also known as the Iceman. He's this guy who climbs up snow-capped mountains in just his underwear with a group of people in tow. He goes in ice-cold water for excessive amounts of time. And one of his main teachings is breath work. And so I want to teach that to you today. So I'll give you a brief overview. And so for all of these, like I said, we're going to do a bit of a choose your own adventure and try one or two of these at the end of this. So just kind of keep in mind what's most interesting to you, and we'll come back to them. So the benefits of breath work in general: boosts immunity, helps you process emotions, heal from emotional pain and trauma, increase self-awareness, enrich creativity, improve personal and professional relationships, increase confidence, self-image and self-esteem, increase joy and happiness, overcome addictions, reduce stress and anxiety levels, and release negative thoughts. So the first one, with the calm, in very simple terms for me, it's an extended exhale, right? So breathing in, ideally being very present with that breath, and breathing in for maybe 4 seconds and letting it go for maybe like 6 seconds. And I actually have a device that I think maybe some of you are familiar with that helps me with that. So I'm going to plug this in now. Since I am a biohacker, I'm going to give you this simple, very simple biofeedback device. Simple yet effective. So this is called the HeartMath M-Wave. And so this is measuring, put to my ear, my heart rate. And it's calculating here my heart rate variability. So it's the variation between my different heartbeats. And heart rate variability, a high heart rate variability, is generally good. It means that I'm rested, I'm relaxed, I'm ready. A lower heart rate variability means I'm more parasympathetic, I'm more stressed. And so what this is doing is it's calculating heart rate variability and what they term coherence, which is actually my brain-heart connection, right? So how well is that connection? And this is kind of taking it to another level. So I can do an ideal breath for me is 6 seconds in and 8 seconds out. And I know that because I went to an intense neurofeedback training for a week. And as part of it, I measured with a device my ideal breath rate. And so for me, it's probably more, 6 seconds in, 8 seconds out. It's probably more than most people because I'm tall, I have big lungs. But then I also want to bring up an app as we're doing this. So there's a simple app that's a breath pacer. And I'm going to turn this up, see if you can hear this. So that's signaling me when to breathe in and when to breathe out. So I breathe in. And now that's going to change from red to blue and eventually to green. So I'll put those away. It just turned green. Okay, so those are a couple of biohacking tools. Yeah, go ahead.
What is that app called?
Oh, the app? It is called Breathe Plus for iOS. Yeah, and I paid for the premium version to get rid of the ads, like a couple dollars or whatever it was. So yeah, that's Breath Plus and the M-Wave too. So yeah, for calming, that's all we need to do. And there are a lot of different ways to practice that. There's just, like I said, the simple breathing extended exhales. Actually a fun one I want to teach you guys really quick that's kind of unique is let's go ahead and get our heart rate, our pulse. So I can do this here or on my wrist. And once I feel my pulse, I can kind of tune into that. And what we're going to do is count 4 pulses as we inhale and 4 pulses as we exhale. And what's really cool about this is that on the inhale, it'll be like boom, 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 boom. And then on the exhale, it'll slow down, boom, boom, boom. And you'll notice that on the exhale, your parasympathetic nervous system is kicking in and you're actually slowing down. So, so that's calming. Buteyko breathwork. So what is Buteyko? So I'll try to talk about this in very simple terms. So Buteyko breathwork is practicing and teaching a way of breathing more efficiently. So in his studies, Dr. Buteyko found that a lot of people were breathing inefficiently. So this is like mouth breathing, snoring, sighing, yawning, all of these things. Even what I'm doing now, speaking, is I'm over breathing while I'm speaking. So doing this chronically can lead to actually a lot of health issues. And so we can reverse that by practicing to breathe more efficiently. And one of the simplest ways to do this is to keep your mouth closed when you breathe, right? And don't do excessive breathing on a regular basis. And if at night, if your mouth goes open at night, you can even tape your mouth shut. I do that sometimes, so that I'm forced to breathe through my nose, right? So actually, I recently heard on a podcast, somebody who studies this said that modern humans breathe 3 times as much as we used to. So we're actually 3 times less efficient in some measures. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement. So this is being used by elite athletes to improve their performance, and of course, people who, they have trouble just going up a flight of stairs. Practicing this for them can make a huge difference, big difference. So that's Buteyko breathing. The third one is Wim Hof. So this is the fun one, and I actually run workshops using this method. So we do my own style of Zen strength breath work. And so this one is actually breathing as much oxygen in your body as humanly possible. The caveat is you're laying down, because people pass out while doing this. So you don't want to hurt yourself. But you breathe in as much oxygen through your belly, chest, and getting that throughout your body. And then release. You're not blowing out excessively, but you're releasing for maybe about the same amount of time, and then doing it again. And so you're not fully exhaling, but it's kind of like a circular flow of breath work, right? And then after we do about 30 so of those breaths, we'll do a hold. And some people can hold their breath for a minute. Some people can hold it for a lot longer. So I've got a little battle with my own coach, because he teaches this stuff as well, to see who can hold their breath the longest. He said he just got to 3.5 minutes. So he's challenging me on that one. So rather than doing this now, this is something that we can come back to if you guys are interested. So the next tool is meditation. So similar yet different from breath work is the act. Specifically, I'll talk about mindfulness meditation, because we certainly have different kinds of meditation. So I'm curious, actually, in the chat, I know a lot of people meditate these days, so I'm curious if you can just share what tools you use for meditation, if it's an app or a type of meditation, if it's mindfulness meditation, mantra meditation, if it's a guided meditation, loving kindness meditation, whatever it might be. So for me, I've tried a lot of different types of meditation. And I started with mindfulness meditation, which is the act of giving more attention to your thoughts and feelings in the present, as well as to the environment around you. So what that does is it helps interrupt this autopilot mode that a lot of us are in. And so it kind of gets us out of that, right? This always thinking like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What did I do, right? And gets us focused in the present moment. And it gives us increased awareness. And it changes our thoughts and our feelings to better equip us to notice signs of stress. So what are the benefits? All kinds of benefits for meditation. So here's a bit of a laundry list. A calm mind, good concentration, better clarity, improved communication, lowered blood pressure, lowers levels of blood lactate, reducing anxiety attacks, decreases any tension-related pain, such as tension headaches, ulcers, insomnia, muscle and joint problems. It increases serotonin, once again, serotonin, that improves mood and behavior. It improves the immune system, anxiety decreases, emotional stability improves, creativity increases, happiness increases, and intuition develops. So there are all kinds of tools and apps and things for meditation. And so what I want to share with you is kind of my own journey in meditation. I started with an app called calm.com. Actually, before it was an app, it was a website, and then I got the app when that came out. And so I started with mindfulness meditation, which was really useful, just coming back to my breath. Anytime I got distracted, come back to the breath, right? And so although it said to focus on the breath, it always said something along the lines of don't control the breath without controlling the breath. But I was always controlling it. As long as I was focusing on my breath, I found myself controlling it. And I'm like, man, am I doing this wrong? And this is where I think going back to breath work, maybe that's one of the reasons I really enjoy that, is because I'm actually controlling the breath and using that as kind of like my own superpower to get to different states of mind. And those are very different, right? I'm not saying one's better than the other. They're just different. So I still do both meditation and breath work. So for breath work, for meditation, yeah, I mean, there's just very, very simple practices that we can do. So this is one that we can come back to. And moving on to moving. So I want to differentiate between two things, movement and exercise, right? So moving is physically just moving your body and giving your mind a rest instead of moving your body. So let me put that in perspective. So a lot of us, for me, I spend a lot of time working, sitting, sedentary, right? Which is deactivating like the entire posterior chain of my body, and it's tightening my hips. So there are a lot of problems with that, right? And so what do we do when we take a break from work? We take a break and maybe we rest our mind for a minute, but we're still not moving our body. So I encourage people to move their body. And so what I do is I set a timer. I use an app called brain.fm, and I play music for focus for about 30 minutes. And when that music stops, like musical chairs, I get up and move and do something. It can be anything as simple as standing up, stretching my body, jumping up and down, squatting, running, doing push-ups, pull-ups, whatever. Anything works. Hang on one sec. My battery's going to die on my computer if I don't turn it on. Okay, just had to plug in my computer. So there I just stood up, had a good excuse to stand up, sit back down, and now I can start the clock again for 30 minutes. It's as easy as that. So what about exercise? So then what's the difference between movement and exercise? So I think more and more of the science is showing that movement is actually more important than exercise. I think we've been over-focused on exercise, where to me exercise is like a very intense bout of like movement, of physical activity, where movement is just anything, like I said, standing up and walking, right? So I think exercise is important, but I don't think we need to do it as much as movement. So exercise has a lot of different benefits. It's been shown to release endorphins, and these chemicals in the brain elevate our mood and lower stress hormones. So it also releases what's called nitric oxide, right? It releases and actually boosts nitric oxide. So this is produced naturally in our body. You get this from the Wim Hof breathing as well. And it's an important function, nitric dioxide, it's an important function in vasodilation, meaning it relaxes the inner muscles of the blood vessels, causing them to widen and increase circulation. Nitric oxide production is essential for overall health because it allows blood, nutrients, and oxygen to travel to every part of your body effectively and efficiently. In fact, a limited capacity to produce nitric oxide is associated with heart disease, diabetes, and erectile dysfunction. So sometimes I'll combine both of these, right? I'll do a quick, what's called nitric oxide dump. So for one of my breaks, I'll get up and do a quick hit of exercise that only takes 2 minutes. Honestly, it takes longer to explain than it does to do. So if you guys are interested, I can demonstrate, and you guys can follow along as we do that one, if you want a quick hit of nitric oxide. So the last thing on here is to do. So do something, do anything. Garden, play guitar, learn a new language, take an online course like my Master Faster Detox Challenge. So yeah, just get up, get moving, do something. And I'm fortunate here, I have some space. I think, like I mentioned earlier, I'm working on reuniting people with nature and better health. And first reuniting myself with nature. And part of that is doing some permaculture and gardening and that sort of thing. So I'm fortunate that I can get out and play in the dirt and garden. But yeah, it can be anything. It's really up to you. Okay, so I said that doing was the last one. I think maybe this is the last one. Change your thoughts. So I alluded to this one earlier about feelings. If you don't like the outcomes in your life, if you don't like the actions you're taking, if you don't like the way you feel, what can you do? So this is the last way to deal with stress and loneliness. You can change your thoughts. You change your thoughts, and your feelings, actions, and outcomes will follow. So you literally can become a different person. So we have circumstances around us, right? So this is a circumstance, coronavirus, right? And it's like it's not going away, it's around me. And I can try to hide from it, but it's there. And this produces thoughts. I have thoughts about coronavirus, like, man, is it really this bad? Should I be scared? What should I be doing? Like questions, right? And for a lot of people, it's like fear, like, oh, I need to stock up on food, right? And then how does that make you feel? Like I said, fearful, scared, frightened. What's the action you take? You hide in your house, right? You don't go outside and get sun. Perhaps doing all these things that are detrimental to your health, right? And what's the result for that? Well, now you're actually lowering your immune system in a lot of ways from the psychological stress, plus you're not getting the things you need physiologically. So my fear in light of this whole coronavirus for other people is that they're stocking up on food that's probably not good for them. Processed food, shelf-stable food. They're not going outside, and they're eating this bad food. They're stressed about it, and so now they're actually lowering their resilience in their immune system, right? So for me, I think I talked about how I got distracted with the coronavirus, but I think I took it in a more proactive and empowering way. So the circumstance for me was coronavirus. The thought was, wow, I think I can step up and help people with this, right? And I felt empowered. And the action I took was to present. So I did 3 different presentations on how to boost your immunity and become more resilient around the coronavirus. And hopefully some people got some things out of that. And I know I certainly learned a lot. And it's something that I continue sharing with others. So yeah, so basically, how can you do this on a regular basis? It goes back to mindfulness meditation. Be mindful of your thoughts and the feelings they produce, the actions you take based on those feelings, and the results you get. So the more mindful we can be, the easier it is to make those changes. So if you want a better result, change your thoughts, right? If you want to change your thoughts to reach your superhuman potential, I'd say find a coach to help you transform your life. So that's it. I want to quickly summarize the things we went over. We talked about connecting, sun, nature, breath work, meditation, movement, and exercise. So I'm curious, in the chat, which one of those do you guys want to practice? We have, about 10 or 15 minutes. And we can go through any one of these. I would say, if you want me to narrow it down, I would say, because we're not necessarily going to go out in nature and get sun right now, but I would say the breath work, meditation, the movement, or the connection. The connection's tough because you guys are all muted, so I don't know how much we can connect, but that's what we're doing now. So let me know what you guys want to try. So I see one for breath work. So we'll take a deep breath together as we wait for people to consider what we're going to do. Long exhale. So Kevin said breath work, but want to see the exercise I mentioned. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Let's do, okay, since breath work came up, we'll start with breath work. And Kevin, I know you've done this. I don't know if you other people have done this. So dealer's choice. I like it, Rick. So we'll start with breath work. So we'll do Wim Hof breathing. So what I want you to do, if you can get in a safe place, closer to the ground is the safest. Otherwise you risk falling out of your chair and hitting your head. But we'll take it easy. So what we're gonna do is just get present with the breath initially. So we'll enter this with a bit of calming breath. So like I said earlier, we're gonna focus on extending the exhale. So breathing in through your nose, and feeling that breath go down your throat, expand throughout your lungs, throughout your body, and then feeling that release of energy and the calm when you exhale. And just do a few breaths on your own, at your own pace. If it helps to count, you can count. You can do 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. But finding your own pace, finding your own flow. And as you do that, we'll transition into Wim Hof breathing. So this generally helps if you're in a place where you can close your eyes and get comfortable. You're welcome to do that. So start breathing as much oxygen as you can into your lungs. So it's going to look, I don't know, you can put your hand on your, I don't know if you can see me as well, but you can put your hand on your stomach, one hand on your chest to really feel this. So we're going to breathe in all the way in to the belly and then feel it fill our belly and then our chest and then our head. So it's going to be like this. Breathing in, then release. In, and release. In, and release. In, and release. Belly, chest, all the way up to your head, and release. In, and release. In, and release. In, and release. All the way in, and release. And keep going. Find your own flow, find your own pace. All the way in. You might feel some tingling sensation, light in the head, tingling in the body. This is all normal. This is all good. Just keep going with the breath. Keep going, finding your flow. Breathing all the way in and just releasing. In and releasing. And when you guys do this on your own, there's no right or wrong way to do this. You can find your own flow and find what works for you. Some people will see patterns and colors. Some people will have emotions come up. This is all normal. It's all okay. So let's do 10 breaths, 10 last breaths together. So breathing in, all the way in, and release. In, release. In, out. In, out. In, out. And on the last exhale, when I tell you to do the last one, you're going to stop. In, out. 2 more. In, out. And last one, all the way in, out, and then stop and hold. Holding. Not letting any air out, not letting any air in. Being present to your body, going in, going deep inside the body. Whatever comes up, comes up. Holding as long as you feel comfortable. And when you feel that urge to breathe, strong urge to breathe, go ahead and breathe all the way in like you did before. All the way in and then hold. And then you're going to squeeze your muscles while you're holding for about 15 seconds and release. So let's go ahead and I'll do that together now. So breathing all the way in, hold, squeeze your glutes, your abs, your chest, your arms, your neck, your head, your legs, all the way through your body, squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. And then release, relax, and slowly let the breath go. And that, my friends, is 1 round of Wim Hof breathing. Typically, I'll do about 3 rounds. For my workshops, we'll do 4 rounds, and then follow that up with an ice bath. But yeah, for me, it's super, super powerful way of changing my brain state. So if I'm feeling down, and this is the challenge for me, if I'm feeling down, not motivated, low energy, it's hard to get motivated to do this. But when I find that I actually get the motivation and do it, it totally changes my mind, my perspective, my body. And Wim Hof has actually been tested in a laboratory setting where they actually injected, I think it was an E. coli endotoxin, into his body. And they watched as he fought this off. He literally used his own mind to fight off a bacterial infection. And they said, okay, this guy's a freak of nature. Nobody else can do this. And Wim said, no, 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 no. He said, give me a couple weeks. He went and trained 10 people, brought them back. And he said, as long as these people make it through the training, they can do the same. So they had the 10 people who did the Wim Hof training, and then 10 control subjects. And guess what happened? The 10 people who did the Wim Hof training also fought off the bacterial infection. Amazing. So, I mean, I'd like to extend this to viral infections, but those are completely different. But I still think it does a lot to boost our immunity, right? So it is powerful. So we have about 10 minutes left. I'm curious in the chat what you guys experienced. Did any of you experience tingling, kind of lightness, any sensations, patterns? If you do this on a regular basis, and if you do 3 of those consecutively, you'll probably start noticing some different changes. Yeah, lightheadedness, that's common. So if you go too far with the lightheadedness, that can lead to unconsciousness, which can be dangerous. My friend actually did pass out doing this, standing up, and fell backwards, cut his head open, had blood everywhere. Serious concussion. And he's actually my coach and my teacher. So I really take that to heart, that you have to be safe when you do this. So let's do, Kevin, are you still up for the exercise? It's called the Nitric Oxide dump. It just takes a few minutes. So we can do that one now if you want. Yes, sir. All right, let's do it. So let me see, I want to get in a place where you guys can see me. And feel free to stand up, move around. So this is where we get to practice the movement. I'm going to push my computer back. And I'm going to back up so you guys can see me and turn sideways. So I need to explain this first. So I want to make sure you guys can hear me. So what we're going to do are just four basic movements. One is a squat. Like back up, squat down. That's one movement. We'll do each of these 10 times, right? So 10 reps. So the first one's the squat. The next one is the arm raise. So we're going to do one at a time, like this. And we're doing these ideally as fast as possible. I'm doing them now in slow motion so you can see. The second one is kind of like the windmill. So I'm squatting down just so you guys can see my arms. But we do this overhead, clicking our arms together above and below. Again, as fast as we can, 10 times. And then the last one is just the overhead press, as fast as we can, 10 times, right? So, but as fast as we can. So we're gonna do those 4 exercises, 10 reps, and ideally do that for 3 rounds. All right, here we go. So we can do this all together. I like to pump myself up a little bit with a big adrenaline and testosterone boost with a Maori warrior practice, which is knees, chest, sky. You can even grunt while you do this. Okay, now we're ready. All right, here we go. So I'm going to start with the squat, 10, and I'm going to slow it down just a little bit for the first one. But go 1, and ideally do this with your mouth closed. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now arms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Windmill, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Overhead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Squat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we go as fast as we can. 1. Whew, okay. So like I said, ideally do that with your mouth closed. So that gets back to the efficient breathing. So that's something you can practice for endurance exercise, is doing endurance exercise with your mouth closed. That's kind of the advanced practice for efficient breathing. Whew. Okay, that worked. So we just released a big shot of nitric oxide in our body. So it's a very acute stress that took probably 2 minutes or so, but it's super effective, right? So this is one simple biohack. You did the breath work, you did the exercise. So with that, I'm gonna move on to my last slide. And how are you guys feeling now? Are we still stressed, lonely, anxious? Are we calm? I'm not calm. but I will be calm once this dies down a little bit. Need to drink my water. Rick, you'll put the gyms out of business. Yeah, hopefully. This is all you need, and you can do these. So it actually takes, from my understanding, 2 to 3 hours for that nitric oxide to build up in your body again. So you could do these maximum every 2 to 3 hours, right? So this isn't something you're going to do every 30 minutes on your break, or else you're going to be overdoing it. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. I do it like once a day, but ideally I would do it 3 times a day. Something that's worked for me in the past that I've kind of gotten away from is always exercising before I eat. So doing some quick exercise before I eat anything, which is super effective but I'm a skinny guy, so I'm always thinking, well, I'm just going to keep getting skinnier if I keep doing that. What else? Kevin, have you done that one before? I'm curious. I think we lost Kevin. He passed out somewhere between the breath work and the nitric oxide dump.
Kevin, you can unmute yourself if you like.
Okay, yeah, he said.
There you go.
I was wondering, because Kevin's been here in Thailand. He was here for a good amount of time last year. And so we hung out quite a bit. We actually did some exercise together. We did some meditation together. Ate a lot of good food. Yeah, we had a good time. So yeah, but now he's sheltered in Austin. All right, guys. Well, if you don't have any questions, let me just explain this slide. So yeah, Q&A discussion. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. You can reach me on web, Facebook, LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about this. And I'm offering now a discovery session to discover your own superhuman potential. So with a free 15-minute assessment, and just with these 15 minutes, a lot of people get a ton of value out of just the question and answers that I go through. And then we can decide if it's a good fit for us to continue with coaching or courses or anything else. So I encourage you guys to sign up for that. And that's with the link to meetme.so/Jason-Ryer. So that's it.
That's great, Jason.
Thank you guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you for hosting. I appreciate it.
You bet, Jason. And thank you so much for that, because I think that's about the most exercise I've had all day. So been sitting in front of the computer too much. I really enjoyed that, Jason, and I'm sure everyone on the call did also. And I just want to let everyone know that we'll be having another lounge talk next week, Thursday, April 16th. Paul with Synergy Science will be talking to us about EMF blockers and hydrogen water. So thanks for coming. Stay safe, stay well. And if no one has anything else, we're going to call it a night.
All right.
Thanks, Jason. Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.